Gonna make it way more difficult.
Put your hands down.
Whether this was any good or not, it's been interesting. So tell us, like, what prompted you to start?
This is probably almost 10 years ago now. I think year after year, I always say, like, I think it was about 10 years ago now. It's probably a lot longer than that. But anyway, I had a friend who was kind of an acquaintance in my circle, was becoming a bigger friend. And this person just had a pretty clear weight problem. And it looked like something that was kind of consistent in the family. And it didn't bug me at all, but I pick up on a lot of social cues pretty easily. And there was just too many times where I felt like I would see them in a moment, for a very confident person too, have these little kind of movements that just, you knew that they had a bit of an awareness of what they looked like compared to other people, and it bugged me, and I just got so tired of thinking that they were thinking they felt small. I have this complete hate for making people feel small. I did it once when I was like 8 to my mom, and I'll always remember the look on her face, and it was like the worst feeling in the world. And ever since then, like, it's unacceptable to make people feel that way or shrink. So I'm kind of sensitive to it. And I just noticed this more and more after time, and I reached out to a couple of our mutual friends and said, did you ever talk to so-and-so about their weight? I know it's got to be a hard conversation, but, I kept doing this equation. Am I a better friend for saying nothing, doing nothing, and just letting it go? Or am I a better friend for, hopefully in love and truth, kind of going to them and saying, listen, it's not a judgment thing. I don't care less about you. Or more about you if you do change your life, but I feel like something's out of balance here. I'm not bringing it up just to bring it up, but can I help you?
Right.
And I had went to Bend to become a youth pastor, and that whole situation kind of fell through. It just didn't fit right. I was pretty young. I was, sad not being at home, and learned a lot of good lessons over there. But I ended up coming home earlier than planned, and while I was over there, a guy had read the book 40 Days of Purpose, I think it was. Felt like the Lord called him to leave his job as a financer and worked in stocks and bonds, trade stuff, and move out to Bend. He didn't know what he was going to do. He's a really fit guy, so he ended up buying a couple gyms. And randomly one day, he just handed me this book and said, hey, if you study this and get certified, I'll give you $15 an hour, $25 an hour for part-time, and then the other for full-time. Wow. I honestly didn't really even have any concept of how much money that would have been. And so I kind of looked at it, and I'm like, this would be good for me to learn on my own, because I would like to, get in shape. But I wasn't very motivated yet for that. Flash forward a couple months later, I ended up coming back home, and I had read that book. And I kept looking at it and thinking, like, maybe I could train this person, and I'll do it for free. They won't have to pay for it, but they'll get this new doing training for free, and the value will hopefully be equivalent, and maybe I'll learn something. And I honestly, genuinely thought I wasn't going to learn anything. And so I finally just got up the courage to go and ask this person, and waited for what I thought was the right time, went out there and said, hey, I love you, don't want you to go awkward, we don't talk about this if you don't want, but how do you feel about this issue of weight? And they were incredibly humble, super kind, opened right up, and blew my mind with how mature they were and able to talk about what, for I think most people would have been an easy, like, how dare you, you don't need to talk to me about this.
Right,
like,
very offended.
Yeah. Would have been, and I think that's the culture we live in now more than we did then, but it's an easy thing to seek to blame others first. And this person didn't do that. And 3 months later, we started to work out together. And a year from that moment, they lost 116 pounds.
amazing.
And yeah, I learned more than I ever thought I would. I genuinely didn't think I was going to learn much, and I did. And I think they got a piece of themselves that they didn't know about in that process. And then that kind of opened up my heart to wanting to work with people who had never been to the gym, or were unable to get to a gym, or were too embarrassed to get to a gym. And so that started about a year or two of me kind of just going to people and working with them in an environment that they could work in pro bono, so to speak, and continuing to try and acquire skills and ideas. And then at one point I decided I would just do it on the side for a few people and make a little extra money, and yeah, that's how it started.
That's amazing, because you started this, and basically your heart went out to a friend, and just the desire to help that person. And really, you're just like, hey, I want to help this person. I'm not looking for anything for me, but I want to see this person succeed because I love them. Yeah. And it all snowballed from there.
Yeah, and it's funny hearing you say that. I don't actually think about it that way. I don't think I've ever stopped to think about it that way. As simple of an idea as it is, but I got to this point where I'm like, I hate unsolicited opinions. I hate when people want to just give you an idea when you didn't ask for it. I think if you're in a good relationship with somebody, and obviously there's an ego piece to this, you'll ask. And I'm the kind of person that I ask a lot of questions already. So if I have a question, I will reach out to somebody and ask. And so I didn't want to just throw myself into this person's life and say, hey, you have something wrong, unless I was also going to be willing to say, but I think I can help, and I'm willing to stick out this process if I say I'm going to. So I knew that I was committing to my own character transformation in that sense, because I'd never had to do that in my life before. It was more like, I want this value, and I want to be a person who follows through. It was challenging, because I think at one point we're working on 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and that's a big chunk of time. And there were definitely times where I didn't know what I was doing, change wasn't happening, I was just reaching in the dark. So it was quite transforming for me. I wouldn't be where I'm at or who I am if I hadn't done it.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. There's so many people that want to point out and say, hey, you're doing this wrong, or this is a problem for you. But having someone who is already in a relationship and coming and saying, hey, I feel like this could be affecting you, and I'm here for you, and I'm willing to put in the time, the money, the energy to help you do something if you want to do that, if you feel the same. So that's incredible. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and all props to that person who I know knows who they are if they were to ever see this, and their humility and their willingness to try something big and scary. And I mean, they did incredible stuff, and that's really the idea. And I didn't connect the name of the company when I eventually started to do this with that person or that moment, but it's the heart. Like, I want to say they had never run a mile in their life, and within the first 6 months, they ran their first mile. Within 2 weeks of that, they ran their first 2 miles consecutively. Within 3 weeks of that, they ran 5 miles consecutively. And at the end of 6 months, they had lost almost 50 pounds on the dot. And we ended up doing this thing on the track where we'd gotten this 50-pound sandbag, and I had them do a mile with that 50-pound bag. And I was like, that is what you used to carry in life. And I want you to run this race and get rid of it and realize how much lighter and freer you are, because we have that to go times probably, 2.5, maybe even 3, and just getting to see what was happening in that person's mind. And to me, it's like, it's a cool trainery idea where you have perspective, and then you actually see it, and you're like, oh, maybe there was something even more there than I thought was this kind of moment I was hoping to do. So all of it was transformative for me. All of it was a gift for me. I'm super thankful to this day. It's created a bunch of relationships, and I literally still to this day have people come to me and say, I saw what you did with so-and-so. Can you do that with me?
Right.
And of course the answer is no. You have to do that with you.
Right.
But it is interesting how much that reverberated throughout, locally.
Yeah. Well, you brought up the name, Prevail Fit Co.
Yeah.
So how did you come to this?
You didn't ask my brother. We try and write stories, and we're pretty creative and pretty nerdy. And as soon as, even if you're playing a video game, as soon as it gets to the place where you're supposed to input a name, I'm stopped for hours. every time. And
Trying to decide on what
I
you
can't
want
do
to
it.
use.
I can't do it because to me names have so much meaning,
Okay.
right? And so do colors and themes and ideas. And so I just get stuck in this world of trying to figure out how do I personify this idea? I've heard it said before, authors are often trying to write the same story over and over and over again. And each iteration, each book is them just perfecting different aspects of it because they're always trying to get the same story out. And I kind of feel like that's more of my thing. Like I over labor to make a point because I don't feel like I'm making it.
Right.
And names were terrible. So as soon as I started doing this, I knew everybody around me was just like, well, this will never happen. Have fun. Your business is over. Yeah.
Your
it's
dad
done.
is not moving past
Fun
first
it
step
is.
of coming up with a name.
And it was true. Because for me, I was like, I had all these big ideas and how I wanted to have like a logo and I wanted it to instantly set a message and a tone and branding's important, all this kind of stuff. So anyways, Prevail was just one word on a list of 20 some other words, next to 20 some other words, next to 20 some other words, and some of them were adverbs and adjectives and different things and pronouns, and we just were mixing them up. And we had citizen athletic, and we put those two words together. And we did take athletic and something else, and forge and this, and rend and union, and words that sounded like you're breaking muscle or breaking chains or doing something.
Right.
We just kept mixing them. I even got a pair of shoes one time with custom made with two of the names on it just to see how I'd like it. I'd walk around and see what other people said, and then I put the words on backwards so it made no sense. And all these things just to see what would work. And funny enough, a couple companies that I know of have then since taken some of those words and the orders that we had liked, and we just kept narrowing it down, and then we'd have people vote on them, and then we'd get rid of one, we'd have people vote on the next list and vote on it. And Prevail, at first, I genuinely thought almost was, and not to be rude, it almost felt a bit effeminate and a bit like lyrical the way the word sounded, but the definition was so important to me. And the more I looked at the definition of the word, the more I was like, well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's almost, you can sit somebody down and say, listen, life is going to be about this. You have to prove more powerful than other forces. Forces that want to overcome you, you have to make a decision whether you're going to prove more powerful than that. You can make that decision, and sometimes you're going to fail. But there's always a second try.
Right.
There's always a different way around.
Prevailing means getting up. Too.
Yeah, it doesn't denote strength
Right.
or intelligence or wit. It denotes anything that you can deploy, and everybody's different. So for us, it wasn't actually, I think this was number 3 on the list for most people, and we just kept getting stuck on this tag here, this kind of line, and I said it has to be this because of this, and I couldn't be happier that we ended up sticking with it. And it's one of those things that I hope that if we continue to grow and people get hooked on it, that this is the thing that goes through people's head every time that they go through something in life. Because if you're a nursing student, this is important. If you're trying to help somebody out at a yard sale, this is more important. If you're trying to raise money, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain weight, if somebody in your family's got cancer, if you're the person with cancer, you have to prove more powerful than opposing forces, and those are always going to exist in your life, philosophically, religiously, socially, economically. It doesn't matter. They just exist. And so if you do, the latter here, if you prove more powerful, then you will always prevail. And
Right. So it's much more than a name for a gym. It's a lifestyle of trying to commit to.
cheesy as
Yeah.
it sounds, I don't like to say it because it does, but yeah, 100%. And I hope people gravitate towards that and kind of imbibe it, because it's all we're looking to see people do.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't matter, again, what they want to do. And most of the time when they come in here, they have a goal of, gain muscle, lose fat, 1 or 2, or get ready for a race or some kind of event. And I want people to kind of sit in it for a minute and realize that, I think about one of our clients who's just got our Client of the Year award here for 2019. This person came in, there was major tragedy in their life. There was loss of a loved one. It wasn't fast, it was slow, and it was handled with grace, but those things are always painful.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were left to raise a family. They are one of the kindest people I've ever met, and they wanted to lose weight, and they hadn't lost a certain amount in over 20 years. And they came in and they were fully knowing that it was going to be impossible because that's what they had dealt with before. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, you just have to prove more powerful than that last epoch in time that you could get past. And they have a ton of opposing forces. They have raising a kid by themselves. They have, can they afford this financially? Do they have the support system? Do you have the right foods available to all these? And they don't. They didn't have any of those things. And this person has been the most successful person in spite of it. And it wasn't just that their fitness changed. It wasn't just that this person lost over 70 pounds. It wasn't just that this person got off their medication for diabetes. It wasn't just that this person no longer has to take cholesterol medication. So this person has now seen themselves cross a line in life that they never honestly thought they were going to cross again. And even the day that that person got to the weight limit, that was that limit, they still looked at that line like they couldn't do it. And again, I hate to overdo it, but they failed.